Hello, this is my 3-month review of my Zero SRS motorcycle. Purchased in June 2025. It's now been over 3 months. Been testing out the bike. Overall happy with the bike. Had to do a few small modifications. Purchased the bike in Sydney from Peter Stevens Motorcycle Group, who actually went into receivership, and now there's a new Australian electric motorcycle company looking after the bikes. But it's a nice looking bike. It's a very comfortable bike. I'm 6'1", weigh about 90 kilos. It works well for me. I've owned a range of other bikes before it. The last one I've owned was a Suzuki GSXR 1000. And I like that bike as well. I think I prefer this one. This one has less horsepower. This one's around 100 horsepower. The Suzuki was 200 horsepower. But this is actually much quicker. So interesting how that happens like that. But obviously it's 100% electric, so it's a bit different. It's got a lot more torque. Get up and go. So the main modification on this bike was the 3-phase charging tank. So it means it can charge up twice as fast as whatever stock is. I've got a few other additions. I mean, the seat height's quite low, I have to say. So I've got a little cushion there, but you can get a higher seat if you want. But that just, it's called an air hawk. It's got a bit of air in there, so it's a bit more comfortable on the longer rides. And you can do long rides. I've done 100, 200, 300, over 400 Ks on the bike. It can be done. So I think the longer the rides, you're going to have to charge outside of the house, of the home. That's where the 3-phase charge tank comes, and there it is. So it takes up a normal storage area in the front of the bike there. There's still 2 USB-A charge sockets which are quite useful. So the big question is, how far? How far will it go on a charge? Everyone asks me. Well, Zero claims close to 300 kilometres, which is in the city is more or less true. So they're saying 275 kilometre range. But once you go out in a country road, you've got the wind, you've got mountains, whatever's going on. You've got the speed. It's a bit different. So in reality, they're saying the country range is probably more like 187, but it could be less than that. I mean, I've done 200 Ks myself up past Newcastle, but realistically 150 is probably a fair range anyway on a motorcycle. I mean, after about an hour and a half to 2 hours, you want to get off, quite frankly. It's not like a car where you can sit there for hours. So here's a recent ride I did to more or less Bathurst, New South Wales, so Sydney to Bathurst. So we rode along the Bells line of road through to Lithgow, one charge, left home more or less 100%, got to Lithgow with more or less 25%. Did a deeper charge there, took about 45 minutes, had lunch. As I said, you're going to stop anyway. It was quite cold, had to thaw out anyway. There's the charging session at Lithgow. Took about 45 minutes, that one. It was actually free. So on these bigger rides, you're not going to spend more than $10, which is a bit different to petrol, but that's not the main thing. It's just, it's a different experience. There's actually plenty of charging around. You just got to work it out, and there's more appearing every month that I've noticed over the months I've had it. So there's an app called PlugShare, and there's a lot of charging options on that app, and you're basically looking at like a Type 2 charging, and ideally 22 kilowatts, so 3-phase. If you're familiar with electric vehicles, then you know about that. You can get single phase, which is 7 kilowatts. But that's just slower. It just means you're sitting around for longer. So the whole idea is you don't want to be sitting there forever. So 20 minutes, half an hour is pretty typical of what the charging I do. If it's a really deep charge, maybe 45 minutes. So there's my tail bag with a charging cable I keep inside there. The tank itself is, there was a storage space there, but that's used up by the 3-phase charging. So I've got a 5-metre cable. Does 3-phase charging, just curl it up in there, fits quite neatly. I can keep some other goodies in there as well, and that's always available. Sometimes the charger has a cable, most of the time it doesn't. So, so there's the space we've got. So it's useful for certain things. I've got some cables there, 2 USB-As. They're a 5 watt charger for my phone, and for the I've got an onboard camera. So if you're familiar with electric vehicle charging, I mean, this is a Type 2 connection, just charging there in Bathurst. That was half an hour charge. And typically you're doing those stops anyway. It's just a matter of planning it, that's all. Three-phase charging, more or less, it halves the time you're going to spend waiting around. At home it doesn't matter because you've got the bike there all night, all day, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But if you're out and about and you're on a long ride, you don't want to be sitting there for an hour or anything like that. So initially the charge rate is high, so over 12 kilowatts, as you can see on the lower right of the screen there. And if it's below 50%, and as it gets above 50%, the rate will drop. So we're looking at 10 kilowatts there, or just close to 10, just under 10. And as it gets towards 80%, it drops right down to 7 kilowatts. So in reality, there's not much point charging beyond 80%. And the truth is, by then that would have taken probably about 45 minutes anyway, so you'd be sick of it by then. And you're having, if you had lunch or whatever, you don't want to hang around for too long, and that's plenty enough to keep you going. So there we are, connected to the charger. So they're round the bout, and you just got to activate them. It's pretty straightforward. The app itself, it's okay. I mean, it's a Bluetooth app. It's not Wi-Fi or anything. It's nothing like Tesla app. It's just very basic. It gives you some information about, the state of charge and that sort of thing. But most of the time, you can see that on the screen of the bike anyway. The main, use I've had is changing the throttle mapping. So initially there are certain modes it has. So there's the battery state of charge at the moment while it's charging. But there's certain modes, like there's eco mode, there's a standard mode, there's like a sport mode, but you can do your own custom settings. So there's things you want to adjust potentially. So the power and the torque can be adjusted, the regeneration can be adjusted. So eco mode has got a lot of regeneration, but not much power or torque. And that's a good one to start on as you're getting your head around how to drive this thing. And then you can try the other one. Standard's not too bad. Slightly more, a lot less regeneration, but more torque. That's not a bad setting. And then there's a sort of halo mode, which is the sport one, which is maximum of everything, power and torque, and not much regeneration. So it's a bit extreme for the road. I just found it not that useful. So in the end, I decided to create my own settings, because it's more of a Goldilocks setting. Because basically you want to have engine braking when you want it, and you want to know when it's coming on. You want to have enough power to get in and out of corners. So it's all about managing the bike and your riding style. I mean, you're going to have to titrate it and adjust it for what you think is the best way for your riding style. And for me, that's the setting I've got. So I've got a regeneration of about 70% engine braking. So that works well into the corners, and it gives you control in like heavy traffic, lane filtering, that sort of thing. So as you're weaving amongst cars, you want to have control, and then and as you're lining up with the other cars, you want to be able to get away from them. You don't want to be in their way, and you don't have to worry about a clutch anyway, so you can just blast off and give them a bit of a thrill as you go, but keep away from them, because they don't always appreciate you. But anyway, so so that was finding my own settings was very important. But beyond that, there's other things like maintenance. So there's not much to worry about really. Basically the tyres, tyre pressures, and just wear and tear. But I haven't seen much wear. I've done about 5,000 Ks. The main thing is the belt drive. That needs an adjustment early in the piece, about after a month or so. There's a special app you can get off the App Store, the Gates Carbon Belt Drive app, and you can look at the harmonic frequencies and measure them, and just using your iPhone, and then you can tighten the belt just using a little Torx wrench there, and Then you need another torque wrench to tighten the main axle, loosen it and then tighten it. So, you know, that's pretty straightforward maintenance. The rest of it just sort of wipe the bike down. So, yeah, not much to do really. There's no oil changes or anything like that. So you can confidently do rides, 100 Ks, 200 Ks, 300, 400, if you need to. I mean, sometimes you need to charge, sometimes you don't need to charge. In my case, if it's a longer ride, you might need to do 2 or 3 charges, but if it's just a short ride, like 160 or 70 Ks, no charging is required at all. And you can incorporate with a break or lunch or whatever it is. So there's plenty you can do, and every month there's more and more charging sites appearing, making life a little bit easier. So you just, as I said, you've got to plan your brakes. But overall, very happy with the bike, and that's my review at this stage. So overall, so thank you very much. Maybe a bit more in the future. Thank you.